You're going to speak for all of us there on that Schalke prediction. We're going to see how they do, because at the end of the day, we're going to answer your questions in the EU LCS postgame lobby, so be sure to send those in using the hashtag #PingTheLobby. Though for now, it's time to kick off today's action in the EU LCS. Here are our casters for Roccat versus Schalke.
Thank you very much, Drakos, and hello everyone. I'm Aaron Medic Chamberlain, joined by Christy Ender Frierson. So I guess you can call this Ender's Game.
Really? That's where you went with that? The sunglasses, everything. Oh, Medic,
so
you beautiful man.
A week to think of that joke, Ender. A week.
Oh, a whole week.
A whole week. It takes me a lot of time, okay? I'm not the quickest tool in the bunch, and nor are either of these teams coming into the start of week 2.
I don't know. I liked Rockat's chances here. They had a couple of good performances back-to-back coming on into this one, and Memento especially looking very, very strong in that early game.
Yeah, I mean, Memento did a very good job, but were they able to translate that quickly into a win? It took them a long time.
It was a little slow.
Vitality probably could have won that game if they played a few of those late game team fights a little bit different. Let's jump on into picks and bans, though. It's your first pick and ban of the EU LCS, Ender. Welcome, and I just want to say there's a track record of our casters here predicting picks and bans very well. So if you have any good predictions, I'll make sure we bring attention to them. First off, Roccat removed the Aatrox and the Zoe, and Fiddlesticks taken away by Schalke.
Yeah, well, the two champions for me I'm looking at is the Vladimir for Roccat. They've loved it in a couple of their games, and the Camille over on Amazing Side. So I want to keep my eyes out for those bans, because if they're not banned, I am expecting to see those taken very early on.
Oh, we'll keep our eyes out for it. There's the Fiddlesticks Talia taken away. As you say, a lot of very powerful picks on 8-12. The meta has been evolving, it's been diverse. I personally have really enjoyed watching it because it reminds me of my solo queue games. Like, you never really know what you're gonna get, and sometimes you win a game even if you think you should lose it.
Yeah, and the new draft is like a box of chocolates. Never know what you're gonna get. It's good stuff though. I'm loving it because you never know what the comp is actually gonna be, which champions are going where until that 5th and final pick is locked in. And that's the Vladimir I was talking about. Prophet, Blanc, these guys can all play this champion.
One prediction for one already. That is impressive stuff, Ender. We'll have to see if you keep up that track record.
And I'm going to take it one step further. I'm saying that's a top lane Vladimir for Prophet. He looked very strong on that, did a lot of damage yesterday.
We'll have to keep our eyes on that as the draft does unfold. Schalke taking a little bit more time over their first pick here. Lots of options for them, but if it's the Camille...
Yeah, Medic.
Ender, 2 for 2 already with your predictions. Great stuff all round. Now, what do Schalke go for that second pick? You got the easy ones out of the way. Where are we looking next?
Ooh, I'm looking for Nukeduck. A little bit of Nukeduck in here. He has looked very good when he is on a powerful mid lane pick. You might want to save it for that third one because he has gone a little bit out into left field with stuff like the Kale and the Twisted Fate in the middle lane. But really, anything that can make a play, I'm going to be happy to see Nukeduck on.
Well, Lulu is not that as much. Usually more of a wave play mid laner, supportive mid laner. We've seen her used in the Super Kaiser compositions that have been making the rounds.
It's very true, and it is also quite strong when paired up with the Camille. It will allow Amazing to go deep into those fights, whether it is in that mid lane or in that supportive role, but regardless, it is going to enable them to make much more aggressive plays.
And it is something we haven't seen Schalke play yet this split, so they're diversifying their strategy already. Memento is going to lock in the Graves. He's played that once already this split and won on it as well. So be pretty comfortable on this Vladimir and the Graves already for Roccat.
Yeah, a lot of AoE teamfight damage coming together with those two champions, but no real tank frontline, no initiation for Roccat. That means Norskeren, he's the playmaker for this team. I want to see him on something that can start things off right.
Have to keep our eyes on it. Lissandra has been played in the LCK and LPL already. He's going to be locked in.
Blanc also played it earlier this split.
Blanc has also played it earlier this split, as you say. One of Rockat's 2 wins, and he will pick that up once again. So we have the top side of the map already locked in for Roccat.
And here's the thing. In that victory against H2K, they had Prophet on Vladimir, Memento on Graves, and Blanc on Tristana. It worked out great for them, got them their first win of the split, and they're set up to repeat that.
We'll have to keep our eyes on whether that actually develops into a win for them, because Schalke get the Lucian, probably going to go down towards upset. Could, of course, be a mid Lucian, something we haven't seen yet this split, but always a possibility.
And I'm very excited to see Norskeren maybe going back towards that Pike. That's the support he played in that match. Looked very, very strong on it. Of course, one of those playmakers that we love to see him on. And that's what I want to see Schalke start to ban away here. Maybe something like the Braum, the Pike, as I mentioned, stuff that can make fights start off for Roccat, because that's where they lack a little bit at the moment.
Well, instead, they're going to get rid of the Heimerdinger, which intrigues me because we haven't really seen Rockat's bottom lane stray away from the traditional meta. They played Ziggs, Xayah, and Ezreal in that bot lane role. And HeaQ doesn't strike me as a Heimerdinger player.
It's possible. He has played the Ziggs, but he has yet to whip out that Donger. So Gonna keep our eyes in the future before we see that one, because today Schalke want no part of that. The Dr. Mundo, I like, banned away by Roccat. Of course, a strong matchup into that Vladimir. One of the few champions that can kill him in a side lane.
I agree with you, but after watching Chachi play the Mundo against G2 yesterday, it might be more of a help for you to give him that champion than a hindrance.
That's fair. It was against the Ornn. It didn't look that great, though. Did end up getting solo killed. The Ezreal 2 taken away from HeaQ, so that's 2 AD carries, or bot lane champions, as you were. My eyes are on the Ziggs again. Roccat can just repeat this composition.
Yep, play the Ziggs for them in that bottom lane, as you say. Looking for that final ban, though, against Schalke. They'll get rid of the Cassiopeia, so removing some of those AP threats. Braum locked in here means that Lulu is probably going mid.
I do like the Braum. Against 3 ranged characters already, we know that Roccat are more than likely going to be very slanted in the carry department. Not too many tanks to go around, so having a lot of reliable crowd control to catch those members off is going to be quite good.
Definitely is. Roccat still looking for their bottom lane and their support here, though. A lot of different options for them. We've seen a variety of different things. You know, Fiddleheimer is a bot lane that's been played a lot. Banned out this game. Instead, going to be the Tahm Kench once again for Norskeren.
That does mean less abilities to make plays here for Roccat, but more protection for all these carries. Expect Roccat to try to win out in these lanes, split up into that 1-3-1, put Blanc and Prophet, their strong solo laners, into the side to create an advantage in the mid game.
I don't really want to talk about these hoppers from Norskeren. He's gone
it's going to be the Ziggs.
Into the Volibear. Great prediction on the Ziggs, though. They rounded out with that. They've got great team fighting, a lot of AoE damage we talked about, but they are still lacking that engage that you wanted previously.
I want the Pike. I wish it was the Pike.
The Lissandra gives you a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's all you got, but she's pretty squishy. If she's diving in, that's going to be a sacrifice from Blanc to get the team fight started off, but it is so much damage on the side of Roccat, and a few squishy members on Schalke's side as well, so they got to watch out.
Well, they're going to add a pretty tanky member in the top lane, though, to help themselves out. Will be the Ornn, meaning that Lulu is going to go mid, Braum will go support, and it will be very much about buffing the Camille and the Lucian in this game.
Absolutely, and running down these compositions, I was all ready to say Roccat loved the comp, but I'm not a fan of that Tahm Kench. I wanted the Pike for him down in the bottom lane, whereas for Schalke, it's a whole lot more well-rounded. Vizicsacsi, VandeR, they're going to be able to do the initiation work on their own side, and it's going to be upset on this Lucian that really is going to be dishing out all the damage for Schalke.
So would you call this a funnel composition? Would you say this is a hyper Lucian, or is it more of a mixed bag here for Schalke?
It's definitely more of a mixed bag. He's not going to be farming in the jungle anytime soon. At least I hope not. That would be a crazy departure from what we've seen so far in the EU LCS, but he is definitely the focal point here for his team composition.
Have to keep our eyes on Upset as the game develops. Came into the Spring Split as one of the rookie AD carries to watch and never really found his form. Every now and again he'll have an amazing game, but then he will int pretty hard on Tristana, if my memory serves correctly. On the other side, Roccat, once again, a strong jungler for Memento. He played so well in the early game yesterday.
6-0-1, I believe, before the 15-minute mark on that Trundle yesterday. And a Trundle, he's pretty good in the early game. A Graves, he is even better. There's going to be a lot of scrapping, I feel, between Memento and Amazing in this early game. And I specifically want to watch Memento's pathing. How does he get his laners ahead? Because if this team on Rockat's side falls behind, I have some serious concerns as the game progresses.
Well, let's jump on into the Summoner's Rift. First game of the day, Roccat taking on Schalke. Roccat coming off a couple of wins here. Schalke really struggling to find their footing at the start of the Summer Split, 1 and 2. And I think you have to say, if Schalke don't make it to playoffs or even to Worlds this split, this entire venture for them has been a colossal disappointment.
Definitely would be. Of course, they brought in Amazing this split to try and shift things around a little bit. I want to go back to that game yesterday where at 21 minutes they were down, they were out, but they made the call to go to the Baron. They lost the game immediately afterwards, but it was those calls that they brought Amazing in for. They need someone decisive, and that was their best chance to make it into the game. Of course, they don't want to fall that far behind this time around, but it is good to see them make the plays.
And a good thing for Schalke is when they have fallen behind, it's been against these funnel compositions. We saw it against Fnatic, we saw it against G2 when you had this Super Kai'Sa, the hyper carry. Here they are not playing into that. It's much more teamfight orientated, much more about that AoE damage.
They have a 100% win rate when not playing against the funnel strategy. That was a total of 1 win, their very first game of the Summer Split. still, want to look at these two junglers here, especially, I think, for Memento, playing around this middle lane. That was a lane he visited a lot in yesterday's match, and Lissandra is probably the best mid laner to set up action around in the early game.
Especially into someone so squishy like a Lulu, you know. Yes, you can try and escape with the Whimsy or even with the help pick shield on herself, but before she hits level 6, she really has no protection at all.
Just has the cleanse and the flash. You burn one of those, it becomes a whole lot easier once Blanc does reach that level 6 point. And I actually want to highlight Memento's pathing here because it is very rare you see the Krugs worked into your first path. But it is important to note, after the mid-season jungle changes, you used to hit level 3 after taking 3 camps. Now, it is after taking 4 camps, unless you include the Krugs. If you bring the Krugs into the equation, that's going to give him a much earlier level 3 than his counterpart, Amazing.
However, Amazing will get priority on the Scuttle Crab here, so it kind of balances out a little bit. You lose the vision control you get from Scuttle, you lose the extra experience, but instead Memento's going to go to his Razor Beaks and try and get towards that level 3.
Yeah, good news for Memento is there's 2 Scuttle Crabs on Summoner's Rift, so unless Amazing makes a beeline over to the top side, which might honestly happen at this point, he should be winning out overall and have that nice bottom to top full clear going for the Graves.
That minion was very clingy to Amazing there for a second. It's just like, oh, I want to hug your legs, please. It was very odd to me, but he is going to go straight up towards the Scuttle Crab as well on the top side of the map. So Memento will lose out. Going to blast cone on the way for the chase. We'll see that the Scuttle Crab isn't down towards this bottom side. 600 health left on it. Amazing does have the smite, so does Memento. Amazing secures it. Level 3 versus level 3 though. Prophet on his way across as well. Chachi only level 2. Can't really come in for this one. The flash away. Amazing will get to safety under the tower, but has to burn his flash.
Great coordination there from Memento and Prophet. There was a ward in the top side river for Roccat at the start of the game, so they sensed a little bit of what was going on there for Amazing, and because of course Memento was level 3 with the red buff as well, made it a little bit easier to, you know, slow Amazing down and end up burning the flash. And now you see Memento walking into that northern quadrant of the jungle. Amazing should lose his buff.
He is going to lose his red buff, which does put him behind once again, and having no flash on Camille, where the hookshot wall dive into flash combo is so good for your gank pathing, makes it very difficult for Amazing to have an early game impact.
Yeah, same sort of deal as the Gragas body slam flash. You need the flash to be able to make those plays and actually lock down the kills in the early game. It'll probably be difficult for Roccat to necessarily punish the fact that Amazing doesn't have the flash, but the fact that he shouldn't be able to get a successful gank off means a lot of good things for Roccat.
Oh, Prophet is actually going to get knocked up here in the top lane. Chachi on the chase, but knows Prophet will have the Crimson Rush. And we have been talking a lot about Memento early on. The reason we do is because yesterday on the Trundle, he had a 7k plus A at 15. His jungle proximity was above 50%. That meant he spent 50% of the early game near his laners, and he was 1,400 gold ahead of his counterpart at that 15-minute mark.
It was ridiculous. He was playing completely around Blanc in the middle lane. I remember that triple kill he got very early on. You know, he picked up a lot of kills. He was able to use them to build on that advantage. It just slowed down a little bit in the mid game, and that's why I think a few of us analysts were criticizing it just a tad. But still, if you get 7 kills early on a Graves, I mean, lights out. Schalke would just lose.
And he is so good at that Graves as well. Went 6-2-6 on it the last time he played it versus H2K. We have to look at the other side of the map, though. Chachi is continually pressuring Prophet in this top lane. Has a bit of a CS lead. There is a large minion wave there as well, but if Schalke are going to refine some of the form that they really want to make it to playoffs, you're looking at people like Chachi. You're looking at people like Nukeduck to step up.
Yep, that is the Chachi we know and love. Not the Chachi from yesterday. Forget that one. That never happened. Wipe that out of your memory. Still, though, Roccat, I'm curious to see where the first play comes from them, because now Blanc, he's level 5, almost towards that level 6. Memento's just been farming up a storm here in the jungle, trying to make as much of it as he can, but very difficult to work off any lanes besides that mid.
And you have to wonder if Roccat can actually make an aggressive play, because really you don't have that engage tool that we talked about in the draft. They're much more about team fighting, much more about AoE damage. They're going to try and do something down towards the bottom lane. Memento spotted out by Amazing. He'll just jump across the wall, and the lane's pushing into Schalke anyway, so they can just stay underneath their tower and be pretty safe as they farm up these minions.
Yeah, so a lot of you guys might see that and be like, Memento, you just stole his minions, but Memento's really here.
Scumbag.
Yeah, he's a scumbag. Nah, he's here to help them clear out the wave so he can get a good recall to the low mana bar on HeaQ, let them go back to base, maybe not even waste that teleport. Of course, was able to force Amazing out of the equation because Amazing is down in experience at the moment and still doesn't have the flash.
We'll be up relatively soon, though. VandeR actually going to be able to stop Norskeren's back there. Doesn't really mean too much, but means Norskeren might decide to stay around in the lane a little bit longer. Second round of Scuttle Crabs is up. Memento's going to be able to get this one pretty simply for himself, because Amazing has had to back away with that experience disadvantage.
It's what happens when you have jungle priority and mid lane priority. All of a sudden, you're just going to be ahead in golden experience because the other team, they can't do anything to contest these Scuttle Crabs. Very easy for Memento to take that away. Should be able to go back to base and work a bit on that Warrior Enchantment. Of course, Blanc now is that level 6. Nukeduck still has the cleanse, still has the wild growth, so probably just going to be a farm fest for a little while longer. This is going to be a slow one.
But that's what I love about this meta at the moment. Like, I know
when we
talk about slow games, sometimes it feels a little bit like it's passive. Teams don't really want to do much, but these teams both have perfect win conditions. Like, neither of these teams are in a bad spot if this game is just about the laning phase for the next 10 minutes or so, because you've got a strong team fight on one side with a hyper carry Lucian and the Camille to jump on the backline, and then on the other side you've got all this AoE damage. It's just going to be a cluster of DPS coming out from Roccat.
Yeah, just try to unload all the damage down, get the burst going, but also 1-3-1 we mentioned with those solo laners splitting up the map. As long as they're comfortable, even or even slightly ahead, Roccat are going to be very, very happy. It is also worth noting that Memento has been able to build on that advantage off of the Scuttle Crabs, off the early plays, so does have a slight experience advantage. Amazing just ticked over to level 6.
We are hitting those level 6 marks across the board, though, and that's when you said we're likely to see some of these plays. You've got the ultimate from Blanc, you've got Memento with his ult, Prophet as well. There's so much opportunity for these teams to gain river control and then roam around the map.
It just feels so wrong that there's not a ton of plays going on, because that's what we've been used to. We've been spoiled a little bit by the first week and a half of play. Maybe mid lane's the play here for Schalke, though.
And Nukeduck will get some damage down. Lulu very much gated by her cooldowns, though. Amazing comes in. Blanc across the wall. Amazing has the Hextech ultimatum here to catch out Blanc, but gets put in Glacial Prism. He's going towards that blast gun. Will use it to get back towards his tower. Didn't even have to burn his flash.
There's a good chase there from Amazing, almost tracking down Blanc. A little bit risky, perhaps, without deep vision, spotting out where Memento was in the jungle. But now, notice, even with Blanc going for the recall, Memento and Prophet are invading this top side of the map. They want to contest this red buff, but Chachi's TPing in to make them stop.
So TP behind them on that Tribush ward. They are caught out between the two. Rock and a hard place here. Amazing comes in. Hemo playing out as well. Call of the Forge, got looking for the connection. The stopwatch isn't going to help Prophet too much here. First blood to Schalke. They're looking for Memento as well. Chachi gets the Bellows Breath out and the Wild Growth. Memento trying to dodge around as much as he can. Does have the flash, won't even use it. And that's 2 kills to Schalke.
A little bit of a strange play there coming out of Roccat, because of course Blanc was forced back to base and didn't have the teleport to come on up. Schalke, of course, realized what's happening, and this is the mid lane again. They just want to keep the tempo up now that they have eked out that slight advantage.
They are about 1,000 gold ahead now, so Schalke able to steal away this blue buff, get the mid lane priority as well. We saw a great roam up there by VandeR, helping out his team when they need it most. Yes, he didn't really actually get that involved in the kill, but he was there in case he was needed.
Yeah, we're taking one more look at this. I mean, Prophet and Memento not going to be able to go anywhere here. Prophet does flash away, does use the Zonias in the pool to dodge away a lot of those fancy skill shots, but at the end of the day, there's no backup. It is a 3 versus 2 situation, and no matter how much effort Memento puts into this duel, you're not going to kill a tank Ornn with a wild growth on top.
Bruisers and shields. Name a more iconic combination. That's exactly what you need. You know, wild
Reckless
growth
and Janna, baby. Oh, yeah. Love me some support.
That still hurts. That still hurts, Andy. You might have been here for a week. Please don't do that to me. But something I did mention as we watched that play unfold was VandeR coming up and helping out his team. And that's something that he has been doing so well across the course of this split. High KDA, very high kill participation as well, almost at 80%. And interestingly, the amount of time he spends with his AD carry in the early game, that's his duo proximity, is relatively low. In Spring Split, that was usually about the 80% mark on average. Here, 53.5%, meaning he's roaming around the map more.
And that's really when Schalke have been successful. You remember back to that game against Fnatic where they got that huge early game advantage. A lot of people said it was amazing making those moves towards the mid lane, but you go back and look at those VODs, it was actually VandeR on the Shen roaming up for support as mid lane.
We talked about how easy it is to gank the Lulu. That's exactly what they're trying to do. Flash cleanse and the wild growth burnt by Nukeduck.
All right. time it on your watch. Minute and a half. That's when Roccat are going to try to make another play around this middle lane once Blanc has that ultimate backup, because there were no summoners blown there from Memento, and there's not that great vision for Schalke protecting Nukeduck in this mid lane. They're going to have to do a lot of work in that department in the coming minutes.
And that's something that VandeR roaming helps out with as well. You get more vision on the map. You can place those wards further up into the river. But with the pushing lanes that Roccat have, they're the ones in control of that river at the moment. There's an Ocean Drake for them if they want it, but thus far have decided that Ocean is not worth their time.
Yeah, they're all are down a little bit right now on Rockat's side, even though they have continually gotten those summoner spell advantages. It was that misplay around the red buff that set them a little bit behind, but I don't think that's going to slow them down, because Blanc, he's actually going to walk into this mid lane, a potential ambush on Amazing's side.
I like this from Amazing. No flash there. Vizicsacsi coming in with the Call of the Forge God. Flash used away. Amazing jumps in. Hextech ultimatum popped as well, and Blanc will be the first to fall. However, Roccat trying to react. Nukeduck! That's a bomb to the face, and Nukeduck gets taken out by HeaQ.
Roccat have a whole heap of damage to load down onto Nukeduck. I did like the move out of Schalke there to bring so many members towards the mid lane, while Blanc did not have the Glacial Prison, the Prison Tomb there to save him. Of course, underneath the tower, could have stalled out a lot of time, but wasn't able to do that. We take one more look. Again, no ultimate there on Blanc. He gets CC'd polymorphed, so he can't even flash away. But Nukeduck was taking the tower instead of Vizicsacsi, and a giant bomb to the face puts him 6 feet under.
That's exactly what you want from HeaQ. Has actually been very much performing this split, but previously he would have been put down near the bottom of the sort of AD carry list, but his Ezreal game yesterday was very strong, did almost 50,000 damage to champions here. Good teleport in, able to react to the plays that his team needs. He's now sitting on that Ludens. You've got Rod of Ages completed on Blanc. Roccat are about 1,000 gold behind, but they're not in the worst of spots.
Yeah, just keep shoving the lanes right now and use that priority, use that window where you're able to rotate around the map and create a play. Of course, right now, a lot of vision in the river on Schalke's side. Make it difficult for Roccat to make a move on up, but Upset is getting chunked underneath this turret.
Yeah, it's not the most comfortable place to be when someone's chucking bombs at you towards your tower. Good push pressure as well from HeaQ and Norskeren in the bottom lane. Have to remember, Ziggs has that satchel charge to take down towers pretty quickly if he can get them low enough.
Oh yeah!
Oh yeah!
The Scuttle Crab. Memento's owned those today.
Sure, we'll go. I mean, he has. He's got them all, but
after the first two, you know.
The enthusiasm
after that was
killing a helpless creature actually is, you know.
But they're worth so much.
Maybe we should respect the.
In the wise words of Papa Smithy, they taste so good.
That they do. That they do. Big fan of a buttered crab, and now HeaQ, big fan of pushing down towards this bottom side as well. You could see Blanc was coming across, has that Glacial Prison back up, maybe looking to go for a tower dive. Not as of yet able to enact their strategy, but they've got so many options.
Yeah, check out all these control wards in the river. I was just talking about how Schalke were doing a good job of keeping up the vision, but Roccat say no, no, no to that. Immediately put down the counter vision to deny it away, and Memento was sitting in that bottom lane anticipating a gank from Amazing that wasn't to come, and now because of that they lose all pressure, but they're going in.
They know Nukeduck doesn't have his flash, does have the wild growth, but Blanc's already across the wall looking for the prison, can't quite connect. Ultimate came out as well, Memento with the flash forward, still on the chase on Nukeduck, and he will get destroyed by the collateral damage. Now VandeR's on his way up as well. Amazing looking for the re-engage onto Norskeren, upset from the side as well. This is what an AD carry can do. The flash in, Call of the Forge God coming out, blocked up by VandeR, but there's so much damage. Vizicsacsi in the midst of it all. The Hexa ultimatum as well. Amazing doing so much work in this fight, and Roccat are running for the hills because Chachi, Upset, and VandeR do not give a damn about your invade. They do not give a damn about your damage. They do not give a damn about your health bars.
My word, Schalke just destroyed Roccat in their own jungle. They're not letting them in anytime soon. Gonna take the Ocean Drake off the back of that as well. Chachi, he was mad about our little, you know, talking about him getting solo kill in the top lane yesterday. He came into this match with a vengeance.
That he did. We even had stats lined up to show how bad he was yesterday, but this game is a total turnaround for him, and this fight was a total turnaround for Schalke.
Yeah, and the big thing to point out here is that Prophet waits so long to teleport in. Chachi almost immediately joins the fight. Nukeduck at the start, stalling so much time, running, waiting for the turnaround, waiting for the collapse. There's the teleport on the flank of Roccat. Prophet still farming minions underneath this turret. And they line up for the Call of the Forge God and get decimated by the Ornn horn. After that, Schalke just have to kite around them. Amazing with the nice plays, fancy use of the golden shield as well. And they pick up that win.
Yeah, pretty decisive fight there for Schalke. We were talking about how Roccat had the team fighting comp, but Schalke, if they can dodge in, they dip around the fight like that, they can totally take out Roccat. They are doing an incredible job thus far. They're going to push towards this Rift Herald as well. Got the Ocean as we were watching that replay go down, and Schalke in a commanding position 16 minutes in, 3,000 gold ahead.
The scariest thing about this Schalke roster right now is that they're up 3,000 gold, but they have yet to take down a turret. There's so much standing resources on the map in the form of that turret money. All they got to do is drop that Herald, start raking in the dough, and, you know, start running away with this one.
I'm sure that's their intention. Roccat are still standing in their way. We have to look towards Memento once again. Not had the best of games on this Graves up to now. The invades that he's calling for aren't quite working out. Alongside that, Norskeren not on his playmaker. The North Norwegian wonder kid not on a champion with which he can impact the game as much as he would like to.
Yeah, and Roccat are going so deep into enemy territory that a Tahm Kench isn't really going to help them. Tahm Kench is good at getting one person out, but there's 4 people that need an airlift to escape from that situation down in the bottom lane. I wish I was seeing the Pike, man. Wish I was seeing something spicy. Tahm Kench just doesn't do it for me, you know?
That's understandable, that's understandable. However, I'm sure Roccat have a plan behind their strategy here. Next Drake is an Inferno. You can see Amazing setting up down towards this bottom side, but still no tower down yet. Roccat have such monumental wave clear that it is actually quite difficult for Schalke to break down those turrets. They're trying to pressure on towards Profit. They know there are TPs on the rest of the map. Blanc and HeaQ still have theirs. So we'll have to watch if Schalke overextend, trying to get onto Profit here, or if they just use the Rift Herald and push for the first tower.
Yeah, Memento, he's trying to run on down here and save the turret, but the Herald does so much damage. It might just die in one hit right here, if we're being honest. Although Norskeren is coming down, they could try to use the Abyssal Voyage to start a fight. It's just not going to happen with no turret to fight around.
First tower goes down to Schalke. They do not overextend, looking for anything more from that Rift Herald, and because Roccat drew so many members down towards this bottom side, Blanc coming across to try and help out his team, but he's knocked up with the Bishop, and Amazing is on a rampage on this Camille. The synergy between Nukeduck and Amazing is on point.
That polymorph is really tough to deal with as the Lissandra. She can't use the ultimate to keep herself alive. And now Schalke, they can look for another turret here in the mid lane. Ziggs so good at clearing away waves, but not that great against a turret dive.
Chachi still has his ultimate here as well if you want to go for it, but instead Schalke decide they do not have the wave. They're going to send Upset up towards the top lane to get some more farm on him. Already crested over that 200 CS mark, so he's in a very comfortable position, actually going for the Hexdrinker second on this Lucian. Usually we see Black Cleaver. Here, he gets the Hexdrinker.
He's against 3 AP carries, man. I respect it from Upset. He will be bursted down immediately without some form of magic resistance. Of course, Blanc here. Not much in the way of counterplay apart from having a ward. Of course, CC into CC into CC into gray screen, which is the ultimate CC. So CC chain, that's all I'm saying.
I have to continue to watch how this game develops because it has been a slightly slower affair, has accelerated since that 16-minute mark though as Schalke continue to pick up these kills. Upset's getting towards the point where he can really carry this team. You've got Amazing building double stinger there for a second. Pretty sure that's not what he wanted. Wanted the Sheen alongside that to go up towards the Trinity Force.
And right now Roccat, they're trying to lay a trap for Upset. He's only level 11 on this Lucian, but they don't have much CC to actually lock him down. When he has the flash, when he has the E, and also when he has the game sense to back away and not press forward for that non-existent wave.
Let's have a quick look at where we stand at the 20-minute mark. Schalke are about 4,300 gold ahead or so. Starting to get those first items as well. Luden's completed on Nukeduck, as we said, Blade of the Ruined King on towards Upset, and then you've got the Trinity Force on its way in the Righteous Glory Abyssal Mask combo from Vizicsacsi.
That's going to be fantastic with an Infernal Drake spawning up in just 1 minute. All the deep vision they just layered into the Roccat jungle as well. He's going to set up wonderfully for that objective. But there's also the 21-minute Baron medic. I'm not sure if you've heard, Schalke, they don't necessarily love that objective, but they are set up around this mid lane at the moment. Blanc, though, he is not going to step forward anytime soon. He remembers how much it hurt.
Flashbacks to a few minutes ago, but Schalke now, once again with the gold lead at the 20-minute mark. It's actually only the second time they've had a gold lead this split at 20 minutes, and they have a 0% win rate when they have a gold lead at 20. So maybe it's a good sign for them, maybe it's a bad sign for them as well. Lost the only other time that they had that lead, and they are trying to set up around this mid lane, but because of the wave play coming out from Roccat, it is actually quite difficult for them to pressure on towards these towers. You see, that's still about 60% health.
Yeah, and you might think, oh, Schalke, they're probably not happy. Actually, they're happy because they're going in.
Straight on towards Memento. Here comes Profit, though. Memento's down. Mega Inferno Bomb hits the backside. There's the Hema Plague as well, but Chachi now in the midst of all of Roccat. Blanc on his way. Look at Upset. He's going to jump across that wall straight onto the face of the Tahm. Kench Norskeren down as Schalke get too easily in the jungle.
No fear in the eyes of Upset as he jumps over that wall and pummels down Norskeren. A turret to boot in the top lane. And going back to that mid lane point, I'm saying they're getting priority so they can make plays inside the Roccat jungle.
Blanc points down the Glacial Prison. That's only onto Vizicsacsi. There's shields for days onto him, so really nothing that Roccat can do with that. Felt very much like a desperation play.
So clean out of Schalke right now. They go topside, get the turret, get a couple of kills, get an old amount of Blanc in the mid lane, and now they're sitting on that Infernal Drake, stealing it away from the 4-carry comp on the side of Roccat. It has to feel so, so good for these guys.
Definitely does. The ability for them to accelerate this game, we wondered how they play against a more traditional team composition, not against the funnel strategy, the strategy they've had to deal with. They've been able just to make plays like this consistently.
Poor Memento gets caught out. There's no vision to spot out where he is on the map. Not enough AoE damage either. Roccat have been set too far behind to be able to get that kill at the start and just get chased on down and lose a few members.
We need to see the next steps, though, from Schalke. They have to be able to close out this game from here. A massive advantage for them. You can see Blanc not even involved in that last fight, and although they took a lot of damage, Schalke were able to get the kills they needed. Focused damage rather than that AoE we talk about from Roccat.
Even though I'm sure Schalke fans have flashbacks to that Fnatic game where they had a similar advantage, notice this time the vision control they have around the map. The reason why they lost was because they were lacking around the Baron on the top side of the map. Fnatic were able to sneak that away. There's no chance, I don't think, for Roccat to make that work out in this game. Instead, Roccat just have to buckle down, clear away waves, and hope they can try to find some small advantages to equalize this gold just a little bit, because at the moment, it is looking so, so dark for them.
And it is, and Schalke could even be the team that go for that Baron if they want. They're 6,000 gold ahead.
Or mid.
AD carry, they can go for the engage as well. Once again, onto Norskeren, locked up underneath the tower, but look at the top side, amazing call out, shut down. And Roccat able to react to Schalke's advances.
Point-click CC is dangerous, baby. Blanc able to find him over that wall. Now Roccat, what do they do with this period of time? They have 30 seconds. They need to try and clear away some vision from Schalke. Get vision of their own, because that's how their last 4 deaths have occurred.
Well, Norskeren.
What?
Sometimes you go for vision and you find 2 people waiting in the wings, and that's exactly what Schalke did. They're now going to be able to push for this mid lane tower. Profit had already come down towards the bottom lane looking for a flank here, but not sure he wants to engage onto this. No minions left. Schalke still able to take the tower down and complete the clean sweep of those outer turrets.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Roccat don't have the vision to ever be able to step forward. Even in a 4 versus 5, they've got to be running together as that 5-man unit to be able to layer down any vision themselves. How did this actually happen? This is the play in the mid, of course, where Schalke go all in on towards Norskeren, but amazing, walked straight over a ward and was flanked by Blanc. The shutdown from long range, HeaQ gonna take that away. Gonna be a lot of gold going into the pocket of HeaQ. That was 4 kills worth onto Amazing.
Well, and you can see he's already got those 2 completed items as well. Luden's and the Morello Nomicon makes it so much harder for Schalke to fight these fights. Zhonya's on Blanc as well is very impactful, and Profit having a Protobow and a Morello Nomicon of his own. As much as Schalke are ahead, they're not as far ahead as they'd like to be.
Sure, Roccat definitely hitting those item spikes that they would like to be at right now, and they're finally grouping up as 5 members. This is what we need to see coming forward out of them. They're not winning their individual lane matchups. They're losing in pressure across the board, so gather around, folks, and enjoy the Ornn damage share.
Yeah. I'm not sure what Vizicsacsi's done there. He's taken some sort of
done some nasty
special
things,
potion
man.
overnight to really be able to get that sort of damage down. Of course, a tank matchup into something like a Vladimir who will just sustain against you does inflate your damage numbers a little bit. But having the most damage in the game is still pretty impressive.
He's also had some dirty ultimates, if you think about it. 3, 4-man knockups. The teleport flanks have been on point from him so far this game as well. I'd actually go as far to say that a lot of this advantage has been off the back of Vizicsacsi. It was amazing for the first few minutes, but once we got into the team fights and the teleports around the map, it was all Chachi all the time.
And that's exactly what you want to see if you're Schalke. These veteran players really standing up and being counted when it matters most. Even after a poor performance yesterday, Chachi now showing us just how good he is. Always been seen as one of the best top laners in Europe. It's just great to see him actually show it on the stage once again. Upset trying to get on towards Profit. Profit will use the Sanguine Pool and get himself to safety for the moment, but that means it's a lot harder for him to defend this tower. Memento comes in. Schalke will take that chip damage on that turret and look to come back in just a couple of minutes' time.
And have no control over their jungle. That is so rough when you are playing a jungler that needs resources, a jungler that wants to do damage like the Graves. As soon as your team falls behind, either you fall even further behind or you start stealing resources. When you have 3 carries on your team that all need a lane themselves, that means it's going to be a Memento that's losing out.
Blanc comes down towards the bottom lane to answer Vizicsacsi. You have to remember there are those 3 teleports on towards Roccat as well. So if they do have to split up to clear out waves, they can teleport towards the Baron that Schalke may start. You can see Schalke not even going for it now. They get complete vision control over it and say, okay, we're just going to push for towers instead. They can't kill us. Well, they could actually if you stood underneath them for a while. It's a lot more predictable, the fight around a tower, than it is the fight around a Baron buff.
Yeah, this is even more impressive from Schalke because this team realistically shouldn't be able to siege that well. It's a Lucian. He is pretty low range when it comes to that. Lulu also not going to be fantastic at whacking away at those turrets, but the fact of the matter is when Schalke are the ones splitting up the map with the lead they have at the moment, they're going to be able to knock these down.
27 minutes in, they still have that 7,000 gold. You can see Profit trying to force them away with the Tides of Blood. And the more that time ticks on, the more that this game develops, the more Roccat will think they have a fighting chance. We saw it against Vitality yesterday. They fell miles behind, but they were able to find those 1 or 2 team fights that really accelerated the game for them. Here, you're getting towards those 3 items. You're getting towards those big team fight ultimates from Roccat. And if Schalke make a single misstep, they're going to get picked off.
Yeah, Roccat certainly have the damage to win out in a fight. The stuff that comes with it, that's where I'm a little more concerned. The utility that Schalke have in the Ornn, in the Lulu, in the Braum is so much stronger than that of Roccat. So really, the boys over on the side of Roccat are going to have to play so well mechanically, individually to find those openings and know they're going to win out on those plays because Schalke feel like they have all the tools in their bucket to come out on top.
They're going to go for their second Infernal Drake as well. No contest at all from Roccat. So 29 minutes in, Schalke will be sitting on 2 Infernals and an Ocean. They've had basically complete control of this game since around the 16-minute mark. It's just a shame we haven't seen them really press their advantage that much. They've been trying to chip away at these towers, but it's still only the tier 2s that are on. And unless they get something like a Baron or unless they get a good team fight, I don't really see them being able to accelerate this game.
That's a fair statement. I think that it is difficult to take down the turrets for them. But that being said, they're in an excellent position for this game. Their team fight, way better, I feel like, for Roccat for the foreseeable future. And the fact that they can afford to play it a little bit slow and not press forward and make those risky mistakes is what I think is actually going to be the best play for them.
See, I think this is maybe a little bit of confirmation.
I know you want it to go fast,
bias
baby.
No, but confirmation bias on my side, because I watched Schalke for a whole split. And I was like, yeah, Schalke, great support staff, footballing organization, great players. You've got veterans like Nukeduck and Vizicsacsi. You've got Upset, this up-and-comer. You've got VandeR, who's been to Worlds. And I saw them play slow mid-games. And I saw them try and be methodical. And I saw them lose because they made a mistake in a team fight. And I saw them not make playoffs. And that might be what's happening here because Upset has to flash away. Norskeren on the chase, trying to make those plays. Wild Growth suppressing. And that is a dead Lucian in the midst of it all. The call of the Forge God comes out. Amazing trying to turn it back around, but you've only got 1 damage source left. Schalke, what can you do in the midst of this all? Blanc on the front line jumps in. Chachi there as well. VandeR down towards the bottom side of the fight. Amazing is down and Memento survives and Blanc's still alive. Chachi trying to get out of it all, but Blanc somehow survives once again. The Hemo Blade won't be enough. Roccat, how on earth did you get out of that one alive?
Still wants it.
Not willing to give it up. HeaQ's going to get caught underneath his own tower. Caught between a rock and a hard place, and Schalke will get one in the end.
My word, Roccat flashing out with just a sliver of HP, but still it's Schalke who lose Upset immediately at the start of the fight and are still willing to take the 4 versus 5. Still look like they come out on top with that turret kill as well. Just get to take one more look at it. It's Upset who steps forward out of that turret one more time. A teleport around. Really good setup from Roccat, but they have to use everything, all the utility, to just get that one single member. And after that, the fight gets split up just a little bit because of a fantastic ultimate out of Vizicsacsi. The action doesn't end there, Medic. We might be in for a little bit more.
Schalke did start up the Baron after that, but were unable to take it. And look at the damage from Nukeduck.
Oh, baby.
We talked about
Lulu?
people stepping up on a Lulu. It is full damage Lulu. He hasn't gone for the Ardent Sensor. It's Ludens and Banshees and Morello Nomicon. So he is building towards the AP route, but still his ability to get those spell combinations off in that fight really turned it around for Schalke. Able to slightly extend their gold lead as well, up to about 7,500, 600 now.
That being said, Roccat come out of that fight with a little bit of a confidence boost, right? That fight was not as far gone as it should have been, given the lead that Schalke have in this game. Roccat really had a great setup to be able to pick off Upset at the start of that fight. That carry doesn't have the flash anymore. No one on the side of Roccat has a flash, so that might be a little bit of concern for them. But if they're the ones making the aggressive play, finding the opening onto Upset, they're going to be happy.
I think you'd be very happy after that last play, starting to get towards those next item spikes as well. 32 minutes in, Roccat tentatively reaching out of their base towards their blue buff. They give it to HeaQ. Schalke started up the Baron. Roccat do not know about this yet. There's the far side automation, they spot it. Prophet has TP. Schalke still on the Baron though. Let's see that health. Let's see. It's 8p down to 7,000. Here come Roccat.
That's a
TP
teleport.
coming in. There's the Mega Inferno Bomb as well. Hits onto 2. Amazing down to about half in the back of the pit. Call of the Forge God misses in between them all. And Blanc gets the 4-man stun. Look at the backline. Memento's not even there. But they do not need them because step 1 is Blanc.
Norskeren around. Norskeren on the side.
Norskeren hitting onto Nukeduck. Norway v Norway. And Schalke are running for the wins. Trying to get back underneath their tower. They will be able to survive for the moment, but Roccat might not be done yet. Looking for the engage underneath this tower. Nukeduck running away as fast as he can, but you cannot run away from Roccat. They will chase you down and they will take your life.
My God, Roccat will not stop. They press forward. They get the kill. Amazing is still dead for 20 seconds. Will they start the Baron? It would be risky. I don't think they're going to do it.
You don't?
No, they're doing it. Okay,
They want this. Nukeduck down towards the bottom side of this fight. Upset coming in as well. That's the teleport. But it's all on Nukeduck and it's all on Upset and it's all on VandeR on his way. Baron down to about 7,000 health or so. 9,000 actually on that. Thank you, observers. Schalke still looking for the engage here. Blanc is low.
This is risky.
Going in. Manages to get the stun off. It's all onto Upset, but he's managed to survive. He got out of the back line. Norskeren dead. And now Schalke can turn and burn towards this fight. Prophet comes back in. Not quite able to get the damage down. Upset goes low. Aries going to take him down as well. Pops the culling. Keeps himself safe down towards the bottom side of this fight. Amazing.
They're
still on
all
the chase.
so low, Medic.
Amazing running in. Roccat just trying to get away once again. Memento backing in the bush. HeaQ's going to knock himself forward. There's the minefield, the wall jump. Amazing realizes he cannot go any further. And Roccat managed to escape.
Get away from that Baron, guys. It's not your friend. It is absolutely not. Oh my word, back and forth, back and forth. And Roccat are a team that are down 7,000 gold. This is the start of the Baron, and I think Roccat actually crushed this team fight if the placement of the Abyssal Void is a little bit better, because they're off the screen. It's a 3 versus 5 that Blanc and Prophet, HeaQ, they're solo carrying that. They're popping off, but the flank doesn't come in from Memento. He takes the safer route backwards, and that means they're not able to pincer them underneath the tower.
Norskeren knew what he was doing, but you can see Roccat, as soon as they have any opportunity of getting a kill, they're like a dog with a bone. They do not give up, and they chase Schalke back, get Chachi in the end.
They do get the one shut down onto Chachi, but then it's straight back to the Baron. Keep in mind, though, Upset, he is still alive. Nukeduck still alive, so they're going to start this one off. And it is so, so close right here. Just keep your eyes on Upset. Watch his positioning. Starts onto Norskeren. Walks away, clears a ward for a little bit of fun, and then gets right in the middle. He wants to bait them in, almost gets annihilated, but the wild growth saves him. That's when the turnaround comes in. VandeR joins on the side. They almost turn it completely around. It was just a little bit too spooky for Upset to step forward and knock him down.
Oh, I think it would have been too dangerous for him. He's been in that position before. He's jumped forward, he's flashed forward, and he's cost his team the game. So not today, he says. Ooh. Instead, trying to get up towards that Baron once again. A 6,000 gold lead for Schalke has not extended since about the 25-minute mark. Full builds coming out on some people, what, 4 or 5 items or so.
Control wards count as full build.
Exactly, exactly. Interested to see Upset not going for the Essence Revert. We are on 8-12, so it has been patched, but still feels like a good item on the Lucian.
I think it could be a 6th item right there. He needed the rapid fire cannon for the extra range, as well as the survivability from the Mob Malmortius and the Black Cleaver, but remember confident Schalke for the last 20 minutes? They're not feeling so hot anymore. They're not willing to step forward and make the play just yet because Roccat have just been outplaying them in the fights.
Do still have all the tools they need, though. Call of the Forge God, Hexag Ultimatum, Wild Growth. That's all you need to get onto a backline and to catch them out. Instead, they get mid-priority. They're looking for that tower. Chachi could tank it up if they want. Roccat have had to run towards their blue side jungle. There we are. Minions coming in. Upset will get the tower. Buffett forced back here. Chachi looking for the engage. Bunking from the side as well. Not going to follow up on his glacial path. And Schalke getting rid of some of that standing gold. Roccat still only sitting on 1 tower to 5. And because of that, they're 8,000 gold behind.
Schalke gonna back up, get back on that vision train. Because of course, before the fight that they lost around the Baron, they owned Rockat's jungle. But as soon as you make a misstep when you have an advantage like that, all the work you put in for the last 5-10 minutes of layering down that good ward, it all goes away. It all blows up in your face. They have to repeat, go back in, put it down, because Roccat, they're going to be able to just keep keeping them safe.
Double control ward there from Roccat as well.
It's safe.
You can see
they're very safe.
VandeR is just licking his lips. He's like, oh, yeah, 2 control wards for the price of 1. Mega Inferno Bomb was used to check the Baron there. Looks like there's a control ward on it, stopping a far side alteration from actually seeing that ward. So, yeah, as you can see, control ward stops the far side alteration, which means Roccat do not have the vision they would want around the Baron buff.
But I want to bring it back to a point you made earlier where you said it was hard for Schalke.
Idea.
Yeah, you make a lot of good ones. It was hard for Schalke to extend the advantage. They have to team fight.
Call of the Forge God, the cavalry is in, amazing jumping in as well. Prophet already used the Sanguine Pool, look at Blanc low, but Norskeren eats him up to keep him alive for the time being. Stun does not quite connect, it does in the end. Upset jumps straight into the Hemo Plague and has to jump away, but amazing comes in from the side and lands the final shot to the heart of Roccat. You have to feel Norskeren caught up in the Hexag Ultimatum, and Schalke get 2 kills in the mid lane.
And they can turn straight back for the Baron now, 3v5. Don't think Roccat are going to be able to turn it around for themselves this time. Great play out of Schalke. Amazing finding the flank. Chachi getting the miracle engage, and they're going to win big time with that Baron.
It's such a good thing from Schalke. They were able to get this Baron in the end, and amazing once again stepped up for his team, brought in as a leader, made the decision to come in with this engage from the side. You can see Chachi sets it all up at the start.
Yeah, Roccat are all in this mid lane except Norskeren. He's a little bit off to the side, so they can't immediately bail Prophet or Blanc out of that situation. Still do a good job of disengaging for as long as they can, but they're slowed down and can't turn this around. Right now, Schalke just too tanky, and amazing comes in on the flank to lock down 1, and then trap Norskeren for the 2nd.
Do exactly what he needs to do and get Schalke the latest first Baron of the split as well. 10,000 gold lead for them now. It's a dramatic shift from the Schalke we saw in Spring Split, an ability to react to going behind or to losing a fight and come back stronger. That's exactly what they've done.
And the only thing limiting them from breaking open the Roccat base was the fact that they didn't have the Baron. Now they have that buff in their hands, and it's going to be so much harder for Roccat to find the fight, to find that initiation, when there's just a whole heaping ton of minions barreling down towards your inhibitor towers.
No banner of command, but those cannon minions still do a lot of work. You can see HeaQ's trying to push them back. But meanwhile, in the top lane, there's 3 cannon minions.
They do a lot of damage.
Survive for too long. They do get forced away. Roccat willing to step out to meet the cannon minions, but eventually
every single lane medic.
As you say, they're going for this one kind of 2-2-1.
It's a 2-2-1.
2-2-1 composition. It's a World Cup. It's festive. You know, it's what we need. Relevant, not festive. That's Christmas. But yes,
there you go.
Very relevant. The 2-2-1 formation here from Schalke, what it does is it unlocks your goalkeeper to allow further pushes around towards the side.
It unlocks your minions to walk towards the towers and beat them to death.
Good translation. Good translation.
That's what the football means.
Yes. Indeed, but
it means minions.
What this means for Schalke is it means they're 13,000 gold ahead. They're starting to get towards those completed builds as well. You can see Rabadon's finished on towards Nukeduck. They're going to be able to get 2 inhibitor towers off this already. Looking for the inhibitors as well. There's the 3rd inhib tower down at Schalke. Others playing this one by the numbers. They're putting the pieces of the jigsaw into place, and Blanc is having none of it. Frozen Tomb onto upset Mega Inferno Bomb as well. Chunks half his health. But meanwhile, the other inhibitors are going down, and Schalke can just push for the Nexus towers here. That's one. The first, they're looking for the second as well. No engage still left on Roccat. Remember, they used the tomb already. Here's the Call of the Forge God. Can't get the knockup, but Roccat are defending for their lives.
And they're taking the 3rd and final inhibitor in the top lane as well. So many minions in the base of Roccat, and they only have 1 turret between them and the Nexus.
Schalke are playing the game of the split for themselves. They're looking for that final Nexus tower. They'll take it down. Just the Nexus left in their sights, and Schalke show their dominance over Roccat.
Amazing coming out of that one. I think we could have closed that out a little bit sooner, but they got it in the end. The victory for Schalke, maintaining that 100% win rate when not playing against a funnel composition. And the Baron slowed him down maybe just a little bit, but they turned it around in the end. It was the Baron that just blew that base to smithereens.
That's exactly what they needed as well, which is why they were setting up for it for so long. I'm sure they'll be proud as well that they removed their 100% loss rate with a lead at 20 minutes stats.
So many quick stats.
Exactly.
We love quick stats here.
Medi stats.
Medi stats. That's what we're calling them now.
That's exactly what we're calling them now. But great stuff from Schalke. Roccat, on the other hand, they're probably a little bit dismayed with that early game performance, but the late game was actually relatively good.
It was, their team fighting was so impressive. They're down 7 to 10,000 golds for a good 20 minutes towards the back half of that game, and they're still going blow for blow against this Schalke lineup that we said, wow, they've got a good team fight. They've got all this utility, the front line, the back line. They've got all the tools they need to win out in fights, but Roccat, with individual skill, just blew it out the water.
They did. Now both these teams sitting at 2-2 after the end of week 2. I'm sure they'll both want to improve that a little bit, but good starts to the split, I think you could say, both for Schalke and for Roccat. If you were, say, Schalke's coach right now, Ender, what would you be thinking of for the next coming weeks? What do you have to shore up to really have this team be a top spot contender?
Ooh, we have to look at that mid game. It was a little bit rough around the Baron. The first Baron really gave a lot of momentum back into the hands of Roccat. Just set up around that objective a little bit better.
So amazing was just going to Andre. It's like, we were choking. We were choking.
We were choking, yeah.
Yes, you were amazing. Yes, you were. But you managed to win the game in the end, anyway.
That is true. And it looked real good while doing it. All it took was that one team fight in the mid lane. Roccat got a little bit overconfident, stepped on forward, and it was Chachi with the Ornn horns every single time to win those team fights, calling it in and laying it down.
Chachi had such a strong performance across the board, ending the game with almost the most damage in the game.
Most on his team.
Most on his team on an Ornn top lane, which is pretty darn impressive. Want to give credit to Upset as well. Apart from the time he got caught, his Lucian positioning was very good. He was finding the double shots where he needed to, tapping through the heart of Norskeren. And overall, Schalke just looked like a team transformed.
Yeah, we have to say Upset and Nukeduck playing around that second Baron was very, very good out of them to stall it out, because that could have been a major tipping point. But they made it work out in their favor. All it took was a little bit of, you know, elbow grease, and they got the job done.
If you're Roccat, though, you have to think about how you want to actually change the way you play. Because yesterday, when Memento got ahead, they did a great job. You know, they were able to get the kills, they waited out for the late game. But here, when they were behind waiting for the late game, it just didn't really work as well. But on the other side, amazing, Nukeduck and Vizicsacsi are fighting for player of the game. And if you want your favorite to win, you need to vote on the poll at LOL Esports on Twitter. Who are you giving it to, my good man?
Ooh, Vizicsacsi. Yeah. He was good. He was making the fights happen. His teleports on point.
See, I like Vizicsacsi. I think he did a very good job. I'm going to give it to Amazing purely for the flash wall jump grapple.
Because you cast with him, isn't it?
Yeah, I like him more than I
see how it is.
But we're going to head over to Pyro and see what Schalke's top lane has to say after that win.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm joined by Vizicsacsi, who had, honestly, a night and day performance this week. Dude, you were getting bopped by an Ornn yesterday. Now you're the one doing the bopping. What changed? What's the turnaround here?
I think yesterday I stressed a bit too much on the game and was a bit nervous as well, and ended up with a matchup where after I got solo killed and blew my Fesh, it was a bit unplayable for me because they could always Ornn ult into Kai'Sa ult, and it was a bit tough, but I think Ornn is just generally really strong champion, and it was perfect fit for this game.
especially with that area, the damage you were pumping out. Now, I want to ask you a little bit about the team, too, because everyone's been making a lot of adding Amazing into the roster. I spoke to Andre, your coach, earlier, and he was talking about how you guys needed a little time and that things were coming together. Do you feel like this is the point where this turnaround, this redemption for Schalke 04 happens?
I mean, we are definitely in a better state than during Spring Split. I think the team atmosphere, our goals and how we are trying to achieve them are much more like in line with everyone's thoughts. And we feel just better as a team. And we also have a high importance for like team synergy and being on good terms with each other right now. And we are doing a much more team building, and that is what helps, I think.
It's absolutely shining through. I'm glad to see you guys are executing better. Thank you so much for joining me, Chachi. Congrats on your win, man.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and send it back to the analyst desk to break that one down a little further.
Thank you very much, Pyra. I'm not going to call it a commanding win for Schalke, but a win is a win when you're fighting at the bottom of the table, and they did manage to pull it through in the end. We can take a look back at the stats, the damage, the gold. This was a wild game, Vedius.
Yeah, so you can see that Schalke had control over the vast majority of the game, largely due to their good early game performances. They shut down a lot of what Roccat was trying to do, but then we got to this mid-game point where things kind of slowed down. You can see on the gold graph where it was just, for around 10 minutes, they were on about the same gold lead. It didn't really change that much. They didn't really snowball it as effectively as we've seen from so many teams. And they got to a point in the game where this team fight composition from from Roccat really started to take off. You have the Vladimir, you have the Lissandra, you have Ziggs. Everything you need to kind of get those 5v5 one-more combos kind of going, it allowed them to come back into the game at the mid-game point.
But you can see in the early game, obviously, Schalke, knowing that this was a comp that needed to scale up a little bit more, played very well around the Lissandra and the Graves combo, not letting kills get knocked out early game. It looked good for Schalke in the early game, but this is kind of a story we've heard from Schalke over and over again, is there's always this one part of the game where they look like, you know, top tier, really solid, and it starts to fall apart a little bit for the
this
lineup.
Is exactly the inconsistency that we were talking about as well at the top of the day, because the thing about Schalke is, have we really seen more of an identity from this game? Well, no, because yesterday we saw Vizicsacsi having a poor performance. Today, he's the exact opposite of that. Nukeduck has been fairly stable, but Amazing was way more active in this game relative to yesterday, where we didn't really see much activity from him. Upset is still a person that we need to have a little bit more of a chat about, because he is kind of a weak point for the team, but I'm still struggling to see how Schalke as a team are going to kind of tidy this up and show more of a consistent performances throughout the
Really, the only thing I feel like I've identified is that Amazing on that Camille is a solid pick for the team.
For sure.
Very easy proactivity. We've talked about how good the hook shot plus flash combo is for forcing those ganks, but you brought up Upset, and I think it's important to look at some of the weak points in this game. I don't want to put it all on Upset, but there were one or two of these plays where he is getting caught out, where he's the member that could, in theory, deal a ton of damage, but just isn't set up to do so.
The thing about this play specifically is not only does he dash into the wall, but then he gets shut down, right? And this is the third time within their fourth game that we have seen Upset make this kind of a mistake, where he has just overstepped and given the opposition an opportunity to capitalize. And that is what is allowing many teams to kind of find these mid-game opportunities to answer back and fight against Schalke in the mid-game. And he is someone who has had so much hype and praise built up around him during spring, and coming into summer, he was one of the now consistent points that many AD carries still had respect for. But he cannot afford to be making these mistakes if Schalke want to be finding more consistency, more wins, because getting caught out is a really bad thing to do.
Absolutely, and I think it's interesting that Schalke are a team that's struggling with consistency. Their AD carry almost feels like the poster boy for that inconsistency, because we've seen him be a monster. There's a reason that pros think highly of this guy, but we've also seen it kind of fall apart. I want to see more moving forward. But the good news is Schalke did look good as a team. They played well. Chachi called out, and Chachi was an absolute monster.
Exactly the man I wanted to talk about. Chachi had such a great game on the Ornn as well, and I just loved how proactive he was with utilizing the ultimate from the Ornn. Every time the enemy team was grouped up, he was throwing it out. He was trying to say, let's go guys, we're ready to fight. If we're the ones setting things up, we know we can come out on top. We have an AD carry, we have that kind of mobility, and we should be able to win out on these fights, and multiple times they were able to pull it off. So well played to Chachi. Definitely a night and day performance, as Pyra highlighted.
Absolutely was. Well, coming up next, Misfits look to keep their undefeated streak against the struggling Giants. More on that in just a minute.
Amazing jumps in, Hextech ultimatum popped as well, and Blanc will be the first to fall. However, Roccat trying to react, Nukeduck! That's a bomb to the face, and Nukeduck gets taken out by HeaQ. VandeR's on his way up as well, amazing, looking for the re-engage onto Norskeren, upset from the side as well. This is what an AD carry can do, the flash in, Call of the Forge God coming out, blocked up by VandeR, but there's so much damage, Vizicsacsi in the midst of it all. The Hextech ultimatum as well, amazing, doing so much work in this fight, and Roccat are running for the hills because Chachi, upset, and VandeR do not give a damn about your invade. They do not give a damn about your damage. They do not give a damn about your health burst. Schalke are playing the game of the split for themselves. They're looking for that final Nexus tower. They'll take it down. Just the Nexus left in their sights, and Schalke show their dominance over Roccat.